Hey, good day everybody, and welcome back to the Kirby Marathon. Yeah, 2 Kirby videos back to back. It's more a traditional means, you could say. Before we get started with today's video, though, I do have a special offer for you, thanks to Verizon Wireless. Moving up in the world. From now until March 12th, you can click the link in the description below, fill out your info, purchase one of the many items available, and those that do will get $100 off their next purchase from my Pixel Empire store. $100 off! You can get a healthy selection of t-shirts from my personal collection, including Cole Phelps t-shirt for fans of the LA Noir Let's Play over on SGB, or you can get one of my many cool coffee mugs, including the one with my logo on it. No kidding, this is one of my favorite products, and I'm totally willing to admit there's a egotistical bias in saying that. Now, if you want my recommendation on what to purchase on Verizon Store, go for the SteelSeries Nimbus wireless gaming controller for your favorite iOS device. Your iPhone, iPad, Apple TV, you name it. It feels really comfortable on my hands. I also love the red lights when I'm syncing up the controller. It reminds me of Kit from Knight Rider. It's easy as pie to set up thanks to its Bluetooth connectivity, and it's the only way I can pretend I'm enjoying Christian Whitehead's remashes of Sonic 1 and 2 on a console. For God's sake, Sega, you're sitting on money here! So again, from now until March 12th, you can click the link in the description below and fill out your phone and email information and get yourself splurging on that special offer. Thanks to Verizon for supplying me with the wireless controller, and thank you for supporting this channel. I wouldn't be able to do stuff like this if it weren't for you guys, so thank you. I can't say that enough. So then, shall we continue on with the show? We're back on the Game Boy Advance with the 2004 Kirby and the Amazing Mirror, notable for being the very last game series creator Masahiro Sakurai had any sort of involvement in. He was the special advisor according to the credits, meaning he was probably asked to make sure if Kirby was either pink or yellow. Still, that's something to process, like after this, no more, see you later. Sakurai was done with his pink baby boy and he was off to work on stuff like Smash Bros, Meteos, and Kid Icarus Uprising. It should be noted that by this time, Sakurai had already left HAL Laboratories and was working under his own company, Sora. So even though I joke, it's nice to see that even after leaving the company that got him started, he still had a fondness for Kirby and was willing to help out in some capacity for the next game in the series. Though I wouldn't call Kirby and the Amazing Mirror his swan song. It'd be more accurate to give that one to Kirby's Air Ride, since that was the last game he would go and direct. Kirby and the Amazing Mirror was the combined efforts of HAL Laboratories' Dimps and Flagship, a subsidiary of Capcom that would eventually close their doors in 2007. Not a bad list of games though to go out on looking at their history. You got the Zelda Oracle games, you got the next game I'm looking at in the Resident Evil Marathon, Code Veronica, that's kind of a happy coincidence. And oh, they even had some involvement in Onimusha 2 and 3. Okay, I know I keep mentioning this goddamn series, I should really get to it at some point. Just give me a little more time. We got all these hands inside this development pot, so does Kirby and the Amazing Mirror make the grade? This is my first time playing this. I have next to no knowledge about it, so I certainly hope so. High above Dreamland rests the Mirror World, home of the titular Amazing Mirror. One fateful day, an evil, shadowy figure begins to cause chaos inside the world, prompting Meta Knight to spring into action and protect Dreamland, but our elusive Star Warrior ends up vanishing without a trace, leaving Kirby to pick up the slack. But then our lovable pink ball of putty is suddenly ambushed by a dark Meta Knight, if you will, and finds himself split into 4 copies. I guess Nintendo figured if it worked for the Zelda series, it wouldn't hurt to try it on Kirby. This is almost one-to-one the opening of Four Swords Adventure. The plot MacGuffin is even called the Master Sword, the blade that shamelessly double-dips its own ideas. It's likely just a harmless reference. But okay then, we have 4 Kirbys now, but much like Four Swords Adventure, this is merely to encourage the multiplayer element of Amazing Mirror. You can plug up to 4 Game Boy Advances and paint the town pink, red, yellow, and green. You can explore stages separately or all together and get things done a lot faster, since every area in the game is still designed with a single player mentality, so the more friends you have, the more you can break the game in 2, or 4. I didn't have any amigos for this review, so I'm playing the game solo, but no matter the situation, you can still use your new cell phone to call your buddies to your side and cause some havoc. They're good for restoring health in an emergency, and when you're up against this game's boss fights, they can help lay waste to them in a matter of seconds. You do need battery life to keep the phone charged, but that isn't so much an issue. The game is rather generous with those pickups. When you're not calling them, however, the other Kirbys just sort of lollygag. They go and do their own thing, which is I don't know, you tell me. I can see on the icons at the top that they get themselves new power-ups every once in a while, and on a blue moon you can actually run into them when you're exploring the level yourself. But they can't fight bosses on their own, they can't solve puzzles on their own. They're backup in the purest sense. They're at your beck and call whenever you need it, and you know what? I don't mind that. It's basically the partner mechanic from Superstar on steroids, but this game certainly isn't Superstar. The foundation I'm more than happy with. You can consider it an escalation of Kirby Nightmare in Dreamland, the remake of Adventure. The graphics are super colorful and fluid, the background work, oh my god, beautiful, and the music is okay. It could have used a little more variety, but it's still full of energy, and that's what I like in my Kirby games. We have a surplus of copy abilities once again, giving you more than enough to experiment with, and we even get some new skills like Cupid, which I like to think of as the fire and needle combination from Kirby 64 done right. The flying is a little limited, but the arrow is good at attacking from a distance and can shoot horizontally. You might have seen this coming, but my new favorite skill is the Smash ability, which you get after defeating Master or Crazy Hand. That was a pleasant surprise to run into. Made me think I was legitimately playing a sprite-based Smash Bros. Game without it being a mid-2000s fan-made Flash animation from Newgrounds. But Smash, man, I love this. It gives Kirby most of his moveset from Super Smash Bros. The flying cutter, the downward stone stomp, the neutral air, the forward hammer swings. Oh, I love this versatility. I tried my best holding on to this whenever I got it, which was unfortunately tricky to do because Kirby and the Amazing Mirror goes back to the old school approach where just getting hit once is enough to make you drop your ability compared to Superstar and the Dark Matter trilogy where you had to take multiple hits before you lost your skill. Out of every game I played so far for this marathon, this was the most frustrating to experience that here. Amazing Mirror opts for a more Metroidvania-esque design. Your main goal is to collect the 8 pieces of the Amazing Mirror scattered across the world by locating the corresponding boss and defeating them. There's over 9 areas to explore, and you can consider them like traditional Kirby stages individually, but all these areas interconnect with one another, and assuming you got a knack for exploration and experimentation, you can visit most of these in whatever order you stumble through. And that's where I say the Metroidvania comparisons start and end, because this game ain't no Metroidvania I ever played. Look, the Metroidvania genre, how many times have I said this? It's one of my favorites of all time. I've played all kinds of games within those parameters, and you can say I've developed a certain amount of expectations because of that. So when I hear that Kirby is taking a swing in it, I have reason to be excited. Maybe it's like a giant version of Milky Way Wishes from Superstar, where I have to find new power-ups to permanently add to my arsenal and use them for combat and puzzle solving. That is what this should have been, but instead, it's more like a giant version of the Great Cave Offensive. You acquire new abilities the same as you've always done in past games. You suck an enemy up and then you copy their skills. And while it's still just as fun as ever to whack all these cute critters with your wide range of skills, certain power-ups are now needed to get through certain barriers. In any other game, this normally wouldn't be a problem because you handle the issue by getting the proper permanent upgrades later and then come back when you have the means to deal with it. Most of the time, your path is jammed by these silver blocks, but there isn't really anything that tells you how to get rid of them, so you have to spend time trying to get all these different abilities and seeing what works. It's a lot of back and forth early on. Not to mention, this is a game where you can lose your power-up just from getting hit once. In those cases where you need a certain ability for an obstacle later on but you end up getting smacked or your power-up disappears or falls down a pit, you gotta go back and you gotta get another copy of that skill. That is not fun, that is a pain in the ass. This is an unfortunate case of the game trying to have its cake and eat it too. They want Metroidvania design mixed with Kirby while keeping the elements of Kirby that fly in the face of good Metroidvania design. Your default map is awful. You slowly fill the thing out as you move along, that's fine. But until you find the corresponding map in one of these big treasure chests, you're left with a zoomed out mess that gives you little sense of direction. It shows you the rooms that you visited, but not the paths you crossed to get there, so trying to precisely remember where you've been and haven't is unnecessarily cumbersome. Then there's the matter of the treasure chests themselves. They're next to worthless, making exploration feel incredibly empty. Imagine if you're playing a Metroid game, you get to a Trozo statue, but instead of finding an energy tank, you find a regular ass energy pickup. That would be very lame, right? Amazing Mirror does that all the time. You're out exploring, you see a treasure chest, you wonder what might be inside, it's food. Or an extra life, because yeah, lives are still a thing in this game for some reason, and they hand out so many you wonder why they even bother, especially considering this game has a normal save system. There are times where you might find a permanent health upgrade, and those are legitimately fulfilling to find, but they're so few and far between. Everything else is either the stuff I already mentioned, music for the sound test in the options menu, or a spray can that lets you change Kirby's default colors. No upgrades to enhance Kirby in any way, there's just the copy abilities, and yes, as I said, the variety in those is great, and those can be a fun, temporary reward, but in the context of the game going for a greater scope, it loses its luster and becomes routine. So I'm spending the game hunting for those mirror shards, and I see on the map there's a goal and a boss. Well, wait, what does that mean? Aren't the two one and the same? I have to beat a boss to get the mirror shard, and that's the goal of the game, isn't it? So what is this goal spot? Turns out it's just an exit for the area with a mini game, like if you just completed a stage in a regular Kirby game. What? Why? Who cares about that in this game? I don't need the food or the lives. I got plenty. I want mirror shards. Again, it's the game trying to be a Kirby game without considering the other genre it's trying to emulate. But sometimes I don't really have a choice of when I run into these, because this game is also pretty fond of one-way doors, where it's impossible to go back the way you came. If you haven't gotten that area's map, you don't know where these doors will lead you, and if it's a dead end because you don't have the proper power-up yet, or one of those mini games, you have to use the warp star to get yourself back to the beginning of the area and work your way back to where you left off. That is not very fun, though the ability to call in a warp star at any point is not a bad tool at all when it comes to saving time. In that case, it is a nifty feature. Kirby and the Amazing Mirror isn't by any means bad, but it is very boring. When it came to hunting for those mirror shards, looking for those hidden pathways I didn't discover because of all the shenanigans with fickle obstacles, the one-way doors, the meaningless treasures and mini-games, when it wasn't a simple matter of completing a stage, having a linear point A to point B to keep things moving, I grew very weary. I enjoyed the fast-paced gameplay. Mechanically, it is more of the style of Kirby I love from Adventure, Superstar, and Nightmare and Dreamland, and when the game focuses on that aspect, it's good. Kirby is still a dream to control. Calling your squad for extra assistance feels good, especially when you're in a pinch. Copy abilities are as fun as ever to go crazy with, and the boss fights are solid. The Dark Meta Knight character doesn't amount to much besides being this game's Meta Knight battle, literally the only difference being that he's a darker color. There's also this Shadow Kirby that pops in from time to time. It's kinda spooky because you never know when he might pop up. But you get an item if you manage to attack him. Nothing much more to him than that though, just a sporadic occurrence. I wish they did more with him. I don't know why you have to fight the final boss 4 times though. I guess it's one for each Kirby thematically speaking, but I don't know. Just seems like silly padding. The final form isn't bad looking though. Kirby versus the Eye of Sauron. I can dig it. It is kind of weird that King Dedede isn't in this game at all though. Not even a passing mention. Must be on sabbatical. Or tired of all the damn dark matter possessions. I'd be too. Well, on one hand I'm glad to add another Kirby game on my list, but on the other this ranks pretty low on my Kirby scoreboard. Kirby's Dream Land 2 is still on the bottom of that list, but this one's pretty close, if only because it fails to capture the essence of a genre that I have many fond memories and experiences with. When it's a Kirby game, everything's fine, but it tries to be more than that and it fumbles hard. It's difficult to recommend this one. I didn't like it much, but there is clearly skewed reasoning behind that. But maybe there might be additional merit if you can manage to play this with friends. The game leans so heavily on it without it being strictly multiplayer only, so I guess it wouldn't hurt to try that if you can if you're already on the fence with Kirby games. You're gonna need 4 Game Boy Advances for that though. Amazing Mirror did see a release on the Wii U Virtual Console, but as you can guess, it's single player only. One day, I might get the opportunity to try out multiplayer, and when that comes along, if it ever does, I might see something I didn't beforehand. Shit, just might even do a round 2 if that's the case. But we'll have to wait and see. And if it does, I got dibs on Smash. I fucking love this skill. Okay, I think I'm ready to end this first Kirby Marathon. Yes, I should stress first marathon because yes, there is plenty of reasons to go back for another visit at some point in time in the future. There's spin-offs with the dude, among many other things. But for now, I just wanted to focus on the mainline entries. Basically no different than how I handle it with Mario and Sonic. So next time we're heading back to the Nintendo DS with Kirby Squeak Squad. Is it a Metroidvania? Do they go back to basics? Is King Dedede in this time? You know, we'll find out in due time. But first, back to Resident Evil. You guys have waited long enough for the Code Veronica video, so that's what I'm working on next. Thank you all for watching. Have yourselves a fantastic night, and take care.